You know, something that I love about doing these YouTube videos and making reviews is that I watch a lot of stuff, and every now and then I come across something on a streaming service in movie theaters or something that I just had never heard of, something I have no expectations for, and I just kind of go in blind with zero sort of knowledge of what I'm about to experience. And sometimes when going into something like that, you end up having a very special experience watching a show and finding sort of a hidden gem and something that is so amazing and so powerful that you can't believe you hadn't heard of it before you had actually watched it. And for me, right now in this week, that is easily Baby Reindeer. It was created by Richard Gadd, who wrote the show. He also stars in the show, and the show is also loosely, but also kind of directly based on real experiences he had in his life and real events that had really taken place for him. The show follows this really terrible comedian, this comedian who's just not very good at his job, who also works at a bar as he runs into this woman whose name is Martha, a woman who comes off at first as very nice, very jolly, very charming, and he does something very nice for her when she's in this state of sort of depression. She just looks very lonely, very sad, and this very nice deed that he does for her ends up throwing him down this rabbit hole of being stalked by this woman, this crazy woman who just does all these insane things and is constantly emailing him and stalking him and following him and saying all these things, and it just kind of spirals out of control. And it's a simple plot at its core, but the show ends up delving into things that are a lot more powerful than its base concept, and it ends up getting into things that were so emotionally powerful for, I think, for me and for probably a lot of other people that watch this show, and definitely for the people involved in making it, that it just became something really special, and I'm gonna get into it. So let's do exactly that. First off, this show is a comedy at its core. The show is designed, especially early on, to be funny. It's supposed to make you laugh at points while telling its story, and it does a very good job at that. But it is a dark comedy, which means that a lot of the times it gets into some really dark drama, and it is very exceptional at doing that. The parts of the show that are meant to make you laugh, the terrible and satirical situations that the characters get put in, the insanity of Martha, the character that she is, and how she relates to Donnie, the main character here. A lot of these situations are absolutely hilarious, and the comedy here is really strong. Even the bad comedy, when he's being a comic. Some of that actually made me laugh. Maybe I'm just a sucker for bad comedy. But when the film actually dives into its dark drama, especially in the second half of this season, of this miniseries, it is really dark, and it's not just dark for dark's sake. It's dark in a sense that it feels personal, and I think it was. I believe this was a real experience that this man went through. Now, I don't know for sure. I don't know him personally, but I believe this whole show and a lot of the really kind of terrible stuff that happens in the second half was really based on truth, and because of that, the show becomes kind of a self-exploratory sort of study on trauma, and what a person does within their own trauma, within accepting sort of what had happened because of what had happened, you know, and trying to figure out how to move forward, and if you can actually move forward, and how it changes you, and how to either accept or reject those changes. And that's obviously something that's been studied in shows and movies before, but this is probably about as powerful as you could really get, and I don't want to spoil anything or really go into it because I want people to experience this for themselves. But Richard Gadd does an incredible job in this performance, an Emmy-worthy performance of really kind of insinuating those traumatic emotions, those regrets, those feelings of uneasiness, of unsureness as he experiences what he's going through with Martha, connecting that to what actually happened in his past that you slowly reveal throughout the show, but also in his actual relationships with other people, his love for different girlfriends, for his family. It's all kind of connected and slowly revealed throughout how it all sort of goes back to traumatic experiences in his life, and it's so brilliantly weaved together throughout the show that it becomes way more than just he's getting stalked and it's kind of funny. Which if the show was just that, it actually would have worked, because I think the character of Martha and her relationship with Donnie here is interesting and funny and just hilarious enough that if that was just the whole show, it would have worked. But the fact that the show throws in that backstory, that trauma theme here, it makes it so powerful. And there are scenes here, I mean, this show earned quite a few Certified Joe Marchione tears. Quite a few. Specifically, there's a scene later in the show between Donnie and his parents, and I'm not going to really say anything about it, but the one thing I will say is it's one of the most powerful scenes in anything. Like, it is just a remarkably powerful scene in how it conveys just the relationship with parents and how parents should be, and sort of just it's just really remarkable, and I don't want to say anything more than that. I want people to experience it. The show also has a tremendous finale. I mean, the way this finale sort of weaves it back to the start of the show and it kind of pays off something that it had been insinuating the entire time about one of the characters, and it just relays the message of the show back to the beginning, this sense of depression, this sense of being down, and this act of kindness that could be received, and how a person in that state could translate that act of kindness. It just wraps it all up in one of the best final scenes I've seen this year. It is just so brilliant. What a script here. I mean, god dang. This show as a whole is just really special. It's really, really something special that you just don't see come along very often, and yet it's a mini-series. We're not getting a season 2 here. It's also very short. This is something you could binge in a day, which is what I did, and because of that, this is something that I think everybody should probably experience. I've been recommending this show to everybody. I think it's an easy watch, and I think it's something that should be getting talked about way more than it is. This is a absolute masterpiece on Netflix. It's one of the best things Netflix has put out in a while, and it has opened my eyes to Richard Gadd, a guy that I have never heard of before, and now I will be watching everything he makes. I also want to shout out Jessica Gunning as Martha. This is one of those performances that she's so good in this role. It's going to be hard in future, performances that she gives to see her as anything but this character. She is just kind of traumatizing for me, and just seeing her and the way that she performs this character is terrifying. This is a situation that, I mean, we've all kind of been in, the start of this situation. I feel like most people have experienced an event where somebody is into you or is clinging on to you, and you just feel like you're way too nice of a person to just kind of cut them off, so you kind of feed into it, but that's maybe more of a mistake, because that makes them more clingy, so you just keep feeding into it and kind of digging your hole, and that's pretty much the situation early in the show that Donnie is in, and she sells that personality of somebody that would be that clingy person that's kind of unpredictable, and you just don't know really why they're doing what they're doing, but you don't want to hurt their feelings, because you think they've probably had some bad stuff happen in their life, and it just becomes something that felt so real. I compare the show to something like Normal People. Now, Normal People is an amazing show that is nothing like this, but the reason I compare it to that is because I think that title for that show, a show just about normal people, is probably what you could have called this show. This show just feels like a regular show about normal, real people. It felt as grounded and real as you could really get when it comes to personalities. And that's really just accomplished through the performances. The two main performances here, I think, should get Emmys next year. We will see if that happens. I'll also say just the filmmaking here is also really good. I don't know what the budget was for this series. I'm assuming it was very, very small, but filmmaking was all great. The use of music was on point. This show is one of those TV shows that kind of hooks you in so much you forget you're watching a show, which is what that's the goal here. So, to be completely honest, I wasn't paying much attention to, the cinematography, the whole vibe of the whole thing, because I just kind of got lost in the show, and that's exactly what you want. Alright, when cinematography is great, it means the audience doesn't notice the cinematography. That's great cinematography. If you're sitting there in the theater going, wow, this cinematography is fucking incredible, it might be, but the best cinematography in the world is when it draws you into the picture so much that you forget you're watching a movie. You just feel like you're there experiencing this story with the characters, and that's what the show does. It does a really, really good job of doing that. It just hooks you from the start. Overall, Baby Reindeer is fucking fantastic, and I think everybody watching this video, if you haven't watched it already, go check this out. You can watch it, set aside one day of your life, and just sit through the whole freaking thing, because I think it is something that everybody should experience. It is a phenomenal piece of work that I just cannot believe is not being talked about more. I feel like this is going to blow up. It's just my gut feeling. At some point, people are going to watch this. It's a very presentable series. It's easy to watch, easy to get into. It's got a good hook. So I feel like as people start discovering this is going to start becoming a bigger thing, maybe. Or maybe it'll just die out and nobody will talk about it and it'll disappear, and I'll have my review on this channel. We'll see how it does, and that'll be it. But you know what? At the end of the day, I hope this blows up. I hope more people see it. I hope if you're watching this video and you had never even heard of the series, I hope I've convinced you to watch it. Go check it out. If you have watched it, you know why the show is as good as it is. I hope the show gets the praise that it needs at the end of the year at all the award shows. It will be making my awards lists at the end of the year for TV shows and all that stuff. It will be at the top, probably, of those lists. Granted, long year, we still got some stuff coming out. We don't know how that's going to all turn out, but House of the Dragon's coming, The Bears Season 3 is coming, But do me a favor, everybody, go check out Baby Reindeer. I'm going to give this show a 5 out of 5. And it is very much deserving of that 5 out of 5. It's as good as it really gets in TV. I have no complaints about this show, other than the fact that I wish it was longer. I just wish there were more episodes. I thought there were 10 episodes, and I think there's 7. So when the show ended, I just felt empty, because I wanted more. So that's my only complaint, that there wasn't more of it. God damn it. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please go watch this show. Please click the video on your screen right now to see more of my stuff, and I will see you guys in the next one.